the better off you are, the more talented you have, the more talent you've accumulated, the easier it is to absorb a mistake. Both on the field when
We've talked about the last few seasons how the margin for error for Auburn football has felt razor thin.
And I would say that doesn't just go for on the field. Yes, you can, a mistake is going to be the better you are than your opponent, the more likely you are to be able to overcome an on-field miscue that gives your opponent the advantage. But beyond that, I would say think about when it comes to accumulating personnel, right? If you bet big on a point guard or a guy you think is going to be the starting quarterback or a guy you think is going to be your starting left tackle, the more options you have in case that goes wrong, the more likely you're going to be to be able to keep on rolling and not miss a beat. And I think that's where being able to accumulate talent and, if there's an injury somewhere, I think Auburn's in a better position almost anywhere on the field to say, well, that's going to hurt, but we like what else we have at that position. And you couldn't say that, right? Like there were times when you thought, boy, if player X had to miss a bunch of games, Auburn's in a world of hurt. You've said that about the best players on Auburn's team the last couple of years out of sort of a question of what
Who
they
else
have.
is it going to be?
Yeah. And again, not to look, you don't want to test this theory out, but I think Auburn's in a better position to absorb an injury almost. No, look, if they get hit with a rash of them, even deep teams are in big trouble there. Oklahoma probably did pretty well in the blue chip ratio a year ago. Mm-hmm. And when a bunch of your prospective starters get hurt, then that's gonna suddenly make you look a lot more mortal. But I think Auburn is in a better position to absorb injuries than ever before and absorb unavailabilities than ever before. And I think that's a testament to the way they've recruited.
All right. Next question from Twitter is this. Carter asks, do we know how play calling will be handled this year? Having 3 different coaches picking plays on different downs didn't seem to work super well last year, and I haven't heard anything for this fall, but I very well could have missed it. He also has a top 4 we will get to shortly. Play calling, it sounds like it's going to be fairly similar. I believe Freeze was asked this earlier this spring and said it was going to be a collective approach again. And it's the same guys. I think that's the other key there. It's the same guys from last year. I think it's we continuity. And here's the thing, and this might be just me being naive, but I don't think so. I think I can back this up with some logic here. I don't think the problem for Auburn was who was calling plays and then the method of calling plays. The problem for Auburn was they weren't able to execute the plays that were called and the ones that were called. To me, it's less of the process, like in terms of like calling the plays. It didn't ever seem to me that like Auburn was like, oh, well, they're so out of sync because nobody knows who's calling plays or like the communication breakdown. Like Auburn just didn't execute them. And yes, Auburn's play calling can be questioned like any play calling can be questioned. On offense, the red zone decision-making was rough from time to time. You never really came out of last season's games thinking, oh, if Auburn would have streamlined their offensive play calling better, it would have worked out. I don't think that was an issue. I think the offense was bad, and they've, Freeze talked about this week how much they've had to like self-scout and kind of learn from that. But the fact that they're probably going to stick to the same plan and have that continuity, I don't think that was as big of an issue